Hey, good afternoon, Naturalistas. So this is Trudy Susan from Naturalista and you are now tuned into the Naturalista Entrepreneur Podcast. So today my guest is V from the Hodgepodge Files, which is a website about natural hair and a hodgepodge of other topics. So V is going to be talking to us just about her journey as a blogger and being a part of the natural hair community. And really the goal of the discussion is to uncover what the process is to get into blogging and to sort of grow into other aspects of business. So, without further ado, please welcome V to the show. Welcome, V.
Hi, Trudy. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be a part of such a wonderful project, so I'm really, really excited.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you on. So I'm going to just kind of jump right into the questions. If we could start off and why don't you just kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about what it is you do and your role in the natural hair community.
Okay, so first off, my name is Vashti, and as you said, in the social media world, I am known as V, but my name is actually Vashti, and I've actually been blogging for just a little under 2 years. I've been making YouTube videos for just a little under 2 years. I actually started them within a month of each other. So I'm a blogger and a blogger. My site is, as you mentioned, is called the Hodgepodge Files. And my videos are all generally hair related. The videos that I post are all related to hair in some way. But on my website/blog, I focus on my hair, of course, but I also delve into other topics. As you said, it's a hodgepodge of stuff, just other things that I'm interested in. I'm a big DIYer, do-it-yourselfer, so I tend to post, a lot of do-it-yourself projects, whether they are hair-related or not, and just a hodgepodge of other stuff that are interesting to me or things that, thoughts or other things that I'd like to share with my audience. I also have a Facebook page, which is an extension of the blog. The Facebook page is also called the Hodgepodge Files. On YouTube, I am known as VPJ, so that's part of where it's a take on my name, my middle name, and then my last name. I also do organizing of natural hair meetups here in Dallas, where I'm based. And the group is called Bella Glam Naturals, and it was started by my friend Bella King. And together we host monthly natural hair meetups within the Dallas Metroplex. So I'm just, blogging is it's new to me. Well, when I started, it was new to me. And it's just an exciting part of my life, and it's something I really enjoy doing. So, yeah, that's about it.
Very cool. So you talked about a lot of things. You've got the Facebook page, you've got your website, you've got the YouTube, and then you've got meetups. So I definitely want to talk more about the meetups and also what you're doing in social media. But I want to kind of step back to when you first made the decision to set up your blog. For you, what made you go from, spectator or viewer, or maybe you didn't, maybe you weren't watching other naturals, but what made you decide to start your blog?
It was actually twofold. I was watching videos at that time, but I was not really, I did read a few blogs, but blogging, as I said, was kind of new to me. But to answer the question, it was a twofold process. At first, when I cut my hair off in 2009, I decided to wear my hair natural. I cut all my hair off, so I had barely a quarter inch of hair, which is very different, and it was a very bold step for me. And I remember posting a picture on my Facebook page, and everybody was surprised, and, they were talking about how bold I was, how brave I was. And I would always post pictures on, different hairstyles and things like that. Not necessarily as I would on a Facebook page, but just, change my profile picture. And of course, I have natural hair. So as my hair grew out, people, friends and family and people would inbox me asking how I achieved a particular look, or, they're interested in going natural and they would like tips, or, how I'm able to maintain my hair and get it to look a certain way. So I thought, maybe I should just start a blog and it would be a way for me not only to chronicle what was going on with my hair, but hopefully just to kind of share my experiences and my journey so that it would be helpful for other people. I can post, style tutorials, so to speak, on how I achieve a certain look. Yeah, and hopefully it will be helpful to people. So I thought of doing that, but the actual process of doing it took me a few months probably to actually start the blog, because I thought it was a good idea to do that, but I was still kind of, not skeptical, but maybe a little bit apprehensive, because I am generally, I would consider myself to be kind of reserved, and blogging and being out there and starting doing videos is definitely a change of pace for me, and it was something that was definitely out of my comfort zone. And so that was the other reason. I thought, okay, it's time for me to challenge myself and do something that was so completely out of my comfort zone and put myself out there and start doing videos. I remember I edited my first video until it could be edited no more because I was just so nervous. It's true. I was just so nervous, and because when you put yourself out there, there's no telling what reaction you'll get, and you want people to I wouldn't say like you, but you want positive feedback, and sometimes it's not always going to be like that, but you put yourself out there, and so you expect, some positive feedback. And so yeah, basically it stemmed from me starting my hair journey, as well as challenging myself to do something out of my comfort zone. So that was how I decided to switch from being just a viewer or taking in the information and go from being that to actually being a blogger and a blogger.
Right. So it sounds like that positive feedback you were getting from friends and family in terms of the questions about your hair and how you were getting it longer and the styles you were wearing, that was really the impetus, but then you had to go through the process of getting it started.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was definitely the catalyst. And I remember when I started the blog, after I had thought about it for a long time, and one day I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So that's what I did. I just did it. And the rest is history.
So let's talk about how you got it set up, because that's a place where I know a lot of the blog readers that I speak with get stuck. They're considering stepping out and making YouTube videos, or they're considering setting up a blog. So how did you get it set up? What service did you sign up with? What did you do from a technical standpoint? Did you have to teach yourself? What was your process to actually start your blog?
Okay, I actually signed up on, did I Google how to start a blog? I'm not sure, I might have done that, but for some reason, I think I might have done that. And for some reason, I think Blogger was one of the first search returns, and I just went on Blogger, and I followed the steps. It was actually pretty easy. You follow the steps, and you set the blog up. After I set the blog up, then I had to do all of the behind the scenes, you had to choose a layout, a template, and all of those things. It definitely took some time getting used to the whole blogger platform and how posting works and, scheduling posts and all of those things. So I started on Blogger, but I know there's also WordPress and a whole host of other blogging sites that you can use, as well as, there's always the option to purchase your own domain and have it hosted on a third-party site.
So do you have your own domain name?
We just purchased the hodgepodgefiles.com. Yes, I actually do. And it's going to be still hosted on Blogger, because Blogger allows you to, they'll be able to host it and you can point it to your domain name. So that's what I'll do until I make further plans and decide, where I want it hosted. But I do, yeah.
Okay. So I know with Blogger, you purchase a domain name, and essentially when people go to, for example, hodgepodgefiles.com, when they type that in their URL, it's going to redirect to your Blogger site where it all started, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So one of the questions I have for you about Blogger, and this is really just to help educate our listeners. Sometimes I hear feedback that it's better to use self-hosted versus a platform. That way, when you're looking to grow your business, let's say, for example, you want to have advertising and whatnot, you have control. So, are there any complaints or challenges that you've had with the Blogger platform?
In terms of challenges using Blogger itself, sometimes I would have issues with maybe posts not being able, like I have issues scheduling posts sometimes, but not on a regular basis. But I have had those types of challenges. Sometimes, you schedule a post and you expect it to post at a certain time, and that doesn't happen. But in terms of ads and things like that, I have not really had issues with Blogger in terms of ads. But I do know I was just having a discussion with somebody, and we were discussing whether Blogger being hosted on Blogger was because when you're hosted on Blogger, if I remember correctly, in terms of like search engine optimization and things like that, you're being hosted by them. So I guess you go through their, it's like you're part of their setup, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so that is definitely something that I have to consider as I grow and decide what's the next step and what I want to do next. But that's definitely something that I need to consider. But I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Right. And that's a perfect segue. So Blogger is definitely a great platform when you're starting out, but when you start to move on into the next, we'll say, evolution or step of, growing a brand, there's other services out there that give you more freedom. So my question for you is, what are your expectations? Well, okay, let's take a step back. Were you expecting this blogging and vlogging to turn into what it is now? Because you have a considerable amount of followers and you have a lot of exposure within the natural hair community. So was that part of the plan initially when you set this up?
It definitely was not. I honestly had no expectations. I just thought, as I said, I would, share what I've learned, the things that I've tried and failed at in terms of my hair, be able to just post my thoughts, share tips, have it be like my little spot. That's what it started out to be. That's what I intended it to be. Just my little spot where I would, share what's going on with my hair, give other people a glimpse into what was, into my thoughts. Just kind of, that was it. I honestly didn't have any grand expectations, and I am like surprised and grateful for all the people who I have met and continue to follow me. I remember when I started blogging, and I was so excited when I had 10 followers, and 3 of them were like my mother and my 2 sisters. And I'm just kind of blown away, actually, and in awe of how it has grown and developed to what it is now.
So what do you kind of attribute to the success you've had? Why do you think you've grown so quickly?
Honestly, it's hard to say. I guess people connected with me in some way. It's hard to tell. I may have to ask other people what it is that they, why it is that they chose to follow me. Honestly, to be quite honest, I don't know. It's a blessing. I honestly can't tell you how, because I am still in awe as to how. Because I don't think I do anything other than just blog and, post a lot of pictures about my hair. And, before I started my Facebook page, where I post a lot of pictures on there now, but before, the blog was just the primary. I blogged more than I did videos because, as you would know, doing videos is like another realm, and it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and all of that. So I honestly don't know. The only thing I do is just post do blog posts, and I guess people identify with something that I'm saying, or some issue that I met had in my hair, or they just identify with it. And I guess that's why they follow. But I'm really, 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 really grateful for everybody who has followed, and people send me messages saying how much I inspire them, and that's really warmed my heart. And I'm still just kind of in awe of everything that has happened.
Well, I personally think, that your attitude is contagious. You really come off with a positive energy. And then you also have this humbleness about you. So I think that's just approachable, right? For somebody who's meeting you virtually to be able to connect to those aspects of your character, I think that's pretty cool. So I know for me, I was drawn just because I felt like I could relate, and I didn't get a sense that you were standoffish or that I was bothering you. So I think those are great qualities that you have. And really, I would say, in my opinion, your gift is being able to translate that virally,
Yeah, thank you so much, Trudy. I mean, I appreciate that. I definitely am not, I think I'm very approachable, and I'm glad that you see that in me. I try not to, because I basically like to treat people the way that I like to be treated, and so, I don't mind answering questions and all of that. So I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, I think that's a lesson, right, for our listeners and for anyone out there who's interested in getting into blogging. And this is also another question I want to talk to you about. There's a whole lot of individuals and women, and it's not just women anymore. I've seen a lot of male YouTube channels, but a lot of people are starting to talk about natural hair, and you really just need to keep it authentic. You need to keep it personal to you and not necessarily copy. It's okay to talk about similar topics, but I think you always want to make sure you keep it authentic.
That is true. I completely agree. I agree.
Yeah, you do a good job with that. So let me ask you this. Now that you have some momentum and you've experienced a lot of growth, what is your plan?
Well, right now I am focused kind of more on the meetup side. I mean, I still do blogging and, the vlogging, but I think for now I'm kind of focused on doing, I guess you can call it community outreach.
Okay.
Because that's what because we do a lot of that in just, having the meetups, helping women with their hair issues, talking about, even if it's just like a informal meeting, on a Saturday afternoon, I think it's very rewarding to sit and talk to women about, their hair, and to be able to offer them tips based on your experience. And so we've been focused, my friend Bella Kingston and I, we've been focused a lot on, doing meetups and seeing how we can kind of, I guess, make Dallas more natural hair centered in terms of, hey, we're out here in terms of, companies, and, we're here. We have all these people come to us. We have a lot of stuff to offer. But in terms of the blog, as I said, I actually just purchased the domain. I have to sit and, with my husband so that I can decide what I want to do next, or what the next step is. I have had a lot of, well, no, I wouldn't say a lot. I have had opportunities, or I have had a lot of different directions that I can go. So I just have to sit and decide what I want to do, because you can't do everything. You can, but it's good to have a plan. So I guess I need to sit and decide what I want to do next.
Yeah, it's there's so many directions you can always take things, so it's kind of like one step at a time. So
exactly.
I know a question that comes up a lot is, is this something you can do full time? So in your opinion, is this, a money maker for you? Is it something that you see yourself doing full time, or is it, do you think that transitioning and making it into somewhat of a career is a little out of reach?
I definitely don't think it's out of reach, but I think it's something that it must be well thought out. There's definitely room for, because I know people who do this full time, and that is their job, and it's definitely something that can be done. It's not something that's out of reach, but you do have to sit and, as I say, have a plan, and I guess team with the right people, have the right resources. But it's definitely something that can be done full time, because I'm sure like a lot of people on YouTube who do just natural hair related stuff, whether it's just vlogging or they do this full time. So it's definitely something that can be done. I haven't gone to that point yet.
So let's shift gears. I have some questions I pulled up, and I'd like to get your advice. So if
Okay.
you could share what your recommendation would be to these individuals, given your experience and your perspective. So if somebody wants to start a meetup, what
Mm-hmm.
advice would you give that person?
So start a meetup group in their
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
Well, so I guess they would have already gone through the process of having, the site go to meetup.com where all meetups start. Um, in terms of having a meetup, know exactly, have a goal of what a clear goal of what you want to achieve, what you want to do with the meetup. Because meetups, if it's natural hair related, are we talking natural hair related meetup or just meetup in general?
Natural hair.
Natural hair, okay. Yeah, but you still need to have a goal as to what you hope to achieve with the meetups. Are they going to be just social, or are they going to be informative? Because we try to do a mix of social and informative, because even when we try to do, I'm talking from experience, a social meetup, there are still people who come with the expectation, of learning something. So there are lots of ways. You don't have to make it like a classroom situation, but you can still have a social media. But I think there always has to be that informative, whether it's just having a Q&A session or just like a chit-chat session so that people can ask questions and have their questions answered. Because from my experience, I've found that there's always, people have that expectation. So I would say decide what you want to do, how far you want to take it, and partner with, try to find people who, like resources, people who you can count on, people who you can call in to be guest speakers at different meetups. Keep it fun, keep it interesting, get feedback from your audience. Always, always, always invite feedback, because with feedback, you're able to grow and to make changes to accommodate what people are expecting. Because you can start and have expectations, but after a while when you've grown, then people would come to expect a certain, people have expectations as well. And so you want to have a balance between what you want to do and what the people actually want to see when they come to a meetup. So I think those are important. What else?
Are there any challenges to running a meetup that people just need to be advised of? What kind of things do they just need to keep on mind?
Well, event planning is in itself is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of things that you take for granted. Little mundane stuff like forgetting to get I don't know, like scissors, or forgetting to bring tape with you to the venue. It does take a lot of event planning. So if you have any event planning resources, or you have someone who can assist you with planning the event, that would be good, because it does take it takes a lot of event planning. You don't have to have experience. I definitely don't think you have to have experience, because I don't have any event planning experience. But just be aware that it is an involved process, and it can take a lot of things that are small and mundane are actually very important to running a successful event or having a successful meetup.
How long does it typically take to plan a meetup?
Our planning process, usually we're kind of planning 2 meetups at the same time. Usually, we go hard with the one that's the upcoming one, but at the same time, we always have ideas, and we're always working on the one that's the following one. So generally, I say to plan a meetup that's a month away in terms of securing whoever the guest speaker is, securing sponsorship, having the flyers done, reaching out to, people and all of that. It takes a good, maybe, like I would say a month in advance. Usually it takes a month to plan a really good meetup with having things go exactly, well, within reason, because things never go exactly the way you planned. But it takes maybe a good 3 weeks to a month to plan and to get sponsorship, to reach out to companies and all that stuff. So,
How
yeah.
many folks should you expect? Typically, how many
How many?
people, would show up?
Oh, at our meetups, we generally have between, depending on the type of meetup, we generally have between 50 to 75, all the way up to 160. The last meetup that we had close to, it was close to 100. Sometimes, depending on the type of meetup it is, we would, depending on the venue, we would have to restrict the numbers, just, in terms of people being comfortable and, the venue being able to accommodate the number of people, number of persons. But we generally, our meetups are generally large, and we tend to have, if it's restricted, we generally sometimes we restrict it 50 to 75, depending on the venue, but we can go all the way. The largest meetup we had was one back in last October, when we had over 150 attendees. So it was pretty huge. And it took a while. It took almost about, the planning was about 2 months, about 2 months worth of planning to bring it all together.
My goodness. So, how do you feel about charging for meetups?
From my experience, or from our perspective, we try to make sure that, or we try to have them free, but sometimes it's just not feasible. For one, the venues, I think venue is probably the most expensive item when it comes to having a meetup. You can, request samples from companies. You can always get sponsorship. We try as much as possible to keep the cost at a minimum, but the venue is what usually costs. Usually, the venue is what would normally push us to have to charge for the meetup so that we can cover the cost of the venue. What we normally try to do, or what we try to do sometimes, is have meals or food included in the cost of the meetup price, so that you get, at least you can come and have your food be part of the process, be part of the meetup price. But it's not always feasible. If it's at all possible, we try not to charge. But as I said, venues are sometimes it's not always easy to get free venues, and then there are other costs as well that go into the meetups. Transportation and bags and just other stuff, little things that cost. So definitely, hosting meetups is not lucrative at all. You actually spend more money. You don't make any money at doing it. Either you spend more or you just break even, meaning that you pay out exactly what you got, what you received. So we would definitely try to have free ones, because you don't necessarily want to always charge, but then at the same time, we give swag bags, and so the swag bags are we always try to make sure that the swag bag is worth more than what you paid for the meetup itself. And so I think that's kind of it kind of balances it off, because I think I've never had anybody complain about the cost of meetup, but it could get, every month you have to pay to go to a meetup. It could get, a bit scary, or, people might be thinking, but I definitely want to say that hosting meetups is not profitable at all to us.
Yeah, it's good that you bring that up, because I know a lot of people go into it thinking, this might be a money-making opportunity, but there's so many initial costs just to get it off the ground. And so, it's $10 can sometimes be a lot to people. They might not be readily able to, maybe they're just not willing.
Exactly. I think that's the thing, and that's what we try to take that into consideration. It's like, every time you try to ask people to pay $10, and that's what I said. We try to make it up in making sure that the swag bags or even the giveaway items, so at least everybody leaves feeling that they spend the $10 and at least they would have gotten the $10 back in swag bag items. Even something as simple as the items for the swag bag. Like some companies, they would be willing to provide the items. They would be willing to provide swag bag items if you ask them for like 200 or whatever. But sometimes they would request that you pay for the shipping. So that's another cost. And depending on where it's coming from or how heavy the items are, it can cost a lot. So it is definitely not lucrative on our end, but it is fun and it is rewarding to, meet up with your girlfriends and talk and get swag bag items and all of that stuff. But I see where you're coming from, because before being a meetup organizer, I still attend meetup, but I used to be a meetup goer. And I wouldn't mind having to pay all the time, but then I definitely didn't attend as many meetups. I didn't attend meetups as regularly as we now host them. So I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And there's always those meetups that have a reputation for being great, so you're willing to spend the money. I know for me personally, I'm the kind of person I'm willing to pay for quality. So, if I'm going to go and have a unique experience, meet some amazing women, and learn, I'm willing to pay for that. So I'm probably the exception, right? Because I'll pay the VIP price. I don't care. I just want to have a really good time.
Yes, I've done that as well.
Yeah, so, and I feel the same way about concerts. This is a sidebar, but yeah, I'll pay the extra money for amazing seats to Sade because it's an experience I'm going for, so I don't want to just be in the nosebleed with my binoculars.
Exactly, and that's what we try to create, a whole experience. Because normally we would have artists. The last week that we had this awesome artist who actually had a song featured in, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was a movie starring Lance Gross, and she was really, really good, and people were talking about her. So even just, we try to always make sure that you get your money's worth and more. But just know that it's not lucrative at all. Maybe in the long run people can turn it into something, but it's definitely not. It's more a labor of love than anything else.
Right.
It's because it's that you like doing. Because it takes a lot of planning, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of people. Even something as mundane as packing swag bags, having to pack swag bags we have, depending on how many sponsors we had, like the event that we hosted when we had 200 women, we had 3 different swag bags, and so we had to pack 600 bags. Stuffing 600 bags, because each person got 3 bags. So,
wow.
It's definitely a labor of love.
Yeah. Well, so I want to talk about sponsorships, but I guess to kind of wrap up what we just talked about. So basically, the lesson is meetups are not easy to plan, and you want to give yourself about a month, to get some time to plan out everything the way you want it to go. And then it sounds like also you can expect anywhere from 50 all the way up to 150 people. So it just depends on the venue. I also heard you share that the venue can be the most costly part of the process. So that's something to keep in mind. And then I guess my 50 cents on the whole thing is once you've put in the groundwork to build a following, such as yourself and Bella Kinks, I think you then do have an opportunity to make it into something more because now you have the trust and people know what to expect. One of the things I really love about your guys' meetups, and I haven't even been to one, but I want to, is it seems like you always go the extra mile. And that's pretty cool.
We do. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but we really, really do. We try to go, and that's part of the experience, part of making sure that we always give people, that good experience. Make sure not just value for money, but that's important too, to make sure that when you spend your $10, you get more $10 worth and more, but just to have a good experience. And so we would love to have you, Trudy. Come on over.
Well, I'm coming, and I want VIP.
You got a deal.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk about sponsorships real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. So how does one go about getting sponsors? That has to be the $1,000,000 question that I hear all the time from naturalistas who are looking to host their own events, start their own meetups. So share with me how you've kind of gotten these relationships started and how you guys go about your sponsorship recruitment.
I think the basic thing, the basic rule of thumb, I've been asked this before. The basic rule of thumb is just to ask. Honestly, it's easy. I think it's you ask, you have a proposal with what you want to do. Of course, in the beginning, there are some people who will just take a chance on you until you've developed. Now we've gotten to a point where companies would see how we operate, and we always make sure that we represent them well in terms of pictures, and we send them pictures to show, hey, this is the item that we sent, and this is the winner, and here's a picture, and all of that stuff. And we always let our attendees know to give feedback to the companies, let them know that they got this sample from wherever. So at least that's a way of saying, hey, we're not just taking it and not doing anything with it. But as I said, you just kind of have to ask, honestly. Either they say yes, or they say no, and then you keep asking until they say yes. And then, of course, you will rotate it and not like constantly bug them because, of course, companies have advertising and marketing budgets and things like that, and you have to take all of that into consideration. But you just have to ask, reach out and ask, let them know, be clear about what you want, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. Having a proposal is good, so that helps. But I think also something that we've done is just kind of reach out to, because before we're meetup organizers or anything like that, we're consumers, and we've been able to build relationships with some companies just from purchasing from them. So I think you can start with companies that you've purchased items from, that you love, and maybe you've done a review on, or, so you can reach out to them and ask them if they'll be willing to sponsor an item. Some companies, what I've found, and I was kind of taken aback by this, but I understand where they're coming from, and I'm not surprised anymore, but when I reached out to some companies, especially the smaller ones, I was at first skeptical because sometimes, depending on the number of items you're trying to ask for, a small business they just don't have the budget, or they're not able to sponsor, the number of items that you're asking for. So sometimes we're kind of skeptical, or we might have thought, let's leave them alone because they're small. But at the same time, we're actually helping them out, because I've had companies thank me for asking them, because it's an opportunity for them to, whether it's to give one or two giveaway items, that still they have reached, some people that they would not have reached before. For the persons who won, or, they'll be able to send their brochures, so we can put it in their swag bags. So I think it's definitely about building relationships with people and starting with just asking politely, of course, and being clear about what you want to do. And then after a while, when they've seen that they can trust you, then you can go back repeat times, and then you're able to attract other companies. Because what I find is that companies are, they don't like to get left behind. So if they see their competitor be, sponsoring stuff or whatever, it's like, hey, I want to get in on it too. Sure, I'll sponsor, that kind of way. So it kind of works out. But I think in the beginning, you just have to ask and be clear about what you want to do, and then do what you say you will do, and have proof, whether it's pictures or videos. We take pictures of all our events, and we used to do, we'll still do that, but we haven't done for the last 2 events. I don't think we've done videos, but normally we would do like a video, so that we can have all the sponsors highlighted, and they see, after a while, they see what you've been doing, and it goes back to the something that you said. You kind of build a reputation, and then new people are more willing to trust you. So start by asking, and have a plan, and then do what you say you will do.
So, I don't want you to divulge your trade secrets, so definitely answer this question carefully. But you talked about just asking. So let me take a step back with that question. And how do you find out who to ask? Is that something where you're just going to events and meeting people, or do you search for them online?
I think being in part of the natural hair community, you kind of, that's like a good place to start. So that at least, because our meetups are, natural hair community, are natural hair based meetups. So being on Facebook is, Facebook is definitely a good place, even Twitter and Instagram, but Facebook definitely is a good place for you to kind of know who's, um, who's who and which companies are which and what companies are available, and because there are new companies being formed every day. And what I've found that is that a lot of the same individuals who are part of, our Facebook pages, they also have small businesses. So it's a good way to kind of get to know, because ever so often on my page, I just say, just if you have a small business, just share. It's not like I'm trying to collect information, but sometimes it kind of helps you to put a face to a business name, and you're like, oh, so that person, I didn't know that they were the owner of this business. And then sometimes you develop a relationship with them, and then you're able to, maybe reach out to them, and I'm going to be willing to sponsor an item or something. And sometimes they're more often than not, they're more than happy, because as I said, they are, it's a way for them to advertise their services and to reach people in a different market that they probably would not have reached, or they're not able to reach immediately because of their budget and things like that. So I think Facebook is definitely a way to kind of stay in the know and be observant, and to know, which companies are new and what products are out there and what people are talking about. And yeah, that's basically how we go about it.
That's awesome. Well, we've really covered the gamut. We've talked about blogging, got into details about the meetup, and then we've also talked about sponsorships. And so, I mean, this to me has been a very fruitful conversation, and I really appreciate you being so open about, how you've gotten to where you're at now. So before we wrap up, I always like to end with this question, and I just want you to share with me, what are some tools, some resources that you find to be really helpful? For example, if there's an app that's been really helpful as you've built this natural hair empire, I'll call it. And, if it's not an app, maybe there's a website that you really like, but why don't you share with us 3 of your favorite tools as a business owner?
Okay, definitely apps. You hit the nail on the head, apps. But first I would say there are 2, well, you said 3, but I guess I can lump this one into one category. There are 2 websites that allows you to edit, online photo editing, because when you're blogging, pictures are important. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Pictures are important. Having, well-edited pictures. You don't necessarily have to have, the most expensive camera. I take a lot of pictures using my phone, but editing them and being able to give them a nice finish, whether it's adding a watermark or, some caption or something, is important. It helps to tell the story of whatever you're trying to blog about. And so everybody may not have access to, or want to even have, be able to want to mess with Photoshop or any of those things, because that can be really involved. So I really like, there are 2 free online photo editing tools. One is PicMonkey, and then the other one is iPicky. It's IPICCY, and then it's PICMONKEY. Those 2 sites are my go-to for when I want to edit, my pictures, when I need to crop something out, make a collage. Anything that involves editing on the computer side, those are my go-to. Even on your phone, there are a few apps that are really helpful to, blogging on the go, whether it's just on your blog or on Facebook, because I like to add my little stamp or my little watermark to my pictures. So there are 2 apps that I use. One is called Labelbox, I believe. Let me check my phone. One is called Labelbox, and the other is called Photo Frame. And so those 2 have been really, really helpful. So I can edit my if I need to crop the picture, I crop it on my phone, and then I have my little watermark on it, and then I can upload it using the blog app to the blog, or to Facebook, or to Instagram, or whatever it is that I'm trying to do. So those have definitely been very, very helpful and very good resources, and they're all free. Best of all, they're free.
Well, I heard of PicMonkey, but the other ones, Label Box, I was in the dark, so I'm going to definitely check that out myself.
Yes, Label Box and their photo frame, and there are a few others, but those two have been my go-to in terms of just adding a little watermark.
Yeah.
Just even if you just want to put a caption or something, it's very quick and easy. You can do it on your phone. No having to go to the computer, and sometimes it's just not feasible depending on where you are if you're on the go, and not having to wait until you get home to do something. So those have really been helpful to me.
Those are great because, I mean, especially the way in the natural hair community pictures are shared so frequently. Now it's ever increasingly important to have a watermark.
Well, I actually started watermarking because I had an unpleasant experience. So people ask me, why do you watermark? Are you scared? I'm not, well, yeah, I had an unpleasant experience where I found my pictures before when I started blogging, one of my earlier, blog posts or some pictures I posted. I found it on a website. It was like a hair braiding website. It was a crochet braid style that I did. And I was just browsing and it just kind of, I was actually looking for something else. And imagine my surprise when I scrolled down the page and I saw myself. I was like, what? There I was! And then I did some investigation and I found that the person had used my picture to do like a YouTube video, basically, advertising the service, my hairstyle that I did myself as something a service that they offered. And so I had to contact them and, let them know that, you can't use my pictures without permission. If you wanted to use it, you could have asked. But but then you can't portray it to be something that you did when you didn't do it. So it's very, very rampant. And as you said, the way pictures are shared, watermarking your picture is twofold. It is a great advertising tool. It's easy so that people know who you are. They know where the picture came from, because sometimes you're trying to figure out, well, who is this? Are they watching questions? They wanting answers about a particular style or something, so it's easy to link it back to you. But my biggest reason for doing it is because of that unpleasant experience. So you're right. The way it's shared, you kind of have to protect your, your pictures a little bit. I mean, it's already out there, but at least, watermarking, that's one of the reasons why I do it.
Wow, that's kind of a catfish. Somebody's out there just using your photo.
Yes, they just listed it because I didn't watermark it. They basically, I was catfish. Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised when and I had to, inbox the person. I tried to be polite and ask them to please take it down, and they were rude about it, and it was very unpleasant.
Oh, gosh.
It was not a pleasant experience. Yeah. So that's one of the main reasons why I watermark.
Wow. Well, we definitely can't take for granted that it could happen to any one of us. So
definitely.
Good lesson learned there. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know what I would do. I know I would contact them. I just would pray that I would feel the grace of God so I could keep it polite.
Yeah, I was really, really polite, and I asked them like a few times, and then they turned around and tried to be rude, and I was like, look, I could, threaten you with legal action and all of that. So, it's not that serious. She admitted it, but then she was trying to be rude, saying that you didn't have the time to take it down. Like, you're being dishonest because you're trying to portray something that I did, a style that I did, with my own hands on my hair, that is something, and using me as a model for your business.
Yeah, people have to pay for that.
Of course.
That is not free.
That is not free.
Wow. Well, V, it's been great talking to you and having you on the show today. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time out to chat with us. So, Naturalistas, I'm going to post this podcast there as well so you can share it with friends and family who may need to check it out. Maybe there's some lessons in here that, we can pass along and get the word on to the people who need it. So, thank you so much for tuning in. V, any last words before we part with the audience?
For somebody, for anyone who is interested in, starting a blog and, worried about what to blog about, my biggest advice that I always give, and I think this is just like a life tip, is always just be yourself, and to blog about whatever it is you're interested in or that you're passionate about. And that would make the process a lot easier. So those are my 2 tips.
Perfect. 2 tips from V. Check her out, thehodgepodgefiles.com. Where else can they check you out, V?
I'm on Facebook, The Hodgepodge Files. I am on YouTube as VPJ. And they're basically all linked. So once you find me one place, you'll be able to find me the other places. But I'm also on Instagram at VPJ. But Facebook is where I spend a lot of my time. Or you can probably find me easier. Of course, once you find the blog, you can email me. But I think I'm pretty accessible, and yes, I do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for tuning in, everyone.